Title: Reshaping Canada's Future. Unyielding Growth-Based Visions for Canada. Pierre Poilievre's daily grind isn't really about simple policy squabbles, as we used to have, in negotiating fine differences between political positions. It's akin to a high-stakes mission to right the course of a government that's lost its way. The relentless pressure of these struggles is forging him into a leader as resilient as precious metal, that if lost, would lead to instant despair and bankruptcy for the owners. This WW2-like massive debt wave crisis Canada faces is setting him on course to be one of the most impactful figures in Canadian politics in a century. However, fixing the massive debt wave caused by the current government may not make this realization of Pierre's heroic stand immediately visible to the public in the near term. He's constantly on his feet, and when sitting, he's expending more calories with his brain alone and thinking of how to solve the broken Canada problem than an oil worker uses to dig for oil. Pierre is resilient at every turn, championing a Canada that leverages its vast wealth and vast potential of the workers, professionals, and academics living in Canada on real assignments. He's challenging the current governance trend of bleeding the public with taxes, advocating instead for tapping into the nation's resources and using land assets wisely. His goal seems to be to enhance the nation's value through energy, minerals, manufacture, technology, innovation, and export, not to undercut it with hefty taxes and property confiscations, such as the devaluation of firearms through bans, the confiscation of rights, the confiscation of firearms, and the destruction of the firearms industry from retailers/outfitters, designers, firearm innovators, distributors, manufacturers, ranges, sports shooting athletes, and hunting establishments. Poilievre's statements seem aligned with fostering growth, progress, and prosperity, steering clear of any philosophy that spells out degrowth, suicide, decline, or extinction as part of its central driver or thesis. Let's get real about growth, a concept twisted by the current regime. We don't think that growth is just a bump in immigration stats. Pierre, being a moderate or well-centered analyst, probably wants, as has been Canada's history, to have immigration at a regular historical percent level that we've always had. The key is, Pierre seems to be for policies that increase our numbers organically and naturally. 2. Not just through immigration but by creating the infrastructure and economy where millennials can have babies and families. For some reason, Pierre realizes that this is accomplished with a growth policy in the economy, instead of choosing the degrowth plan, such as printing a check to subsidize people who had babies, helping to add to inflation and to the creating a massive debt wave as the current government do. Maturity, analytics, and wisdom. True growth is seen in the development of new crown and parcel into housing communities, the buzz of new production businesses, not simply retail businesses, to shuffle around the economy, foreign-made goods in a pass-the-ball economics mentality, the innovation in our factories, the manufacture of new Navy frigates on Vancouver Island or Halifax, and the speedy research assistance, development and rollout of technologies like small modular reactors to be deployed in decentralized fashion across Canada. It's about creating a factory to manufacture space-age 1,000 sq ft nanopod houses for delivery by truck to crown land zones for millennials. Houses that can be built for under $100K out of non-perishable stainless steels and aluminums. Solving the housing crisis. Canadian-made Super Hornets or F-35s patrolling our skies, and refurbishing Bombardier with real engineers and leaders. Crafting Canadian-made passenger planes, leveraging Canada's expertise on EV trains and EV cars manufacture. It's in the expanse of our wheat fields, the efficiency of our natural gas sectors, the spread of our exports, and the support for homeowners to install decentralized solar power across many private homes on their own terms, not centralized to authorities, a less resilient and less war-prepared or emergency-prepared model. It's the new homes across our landscape, the vehicles coming off production lines, the vibrant marketplaces, the products and services we deliver, not the retail commerce we do, and the joyful sounds in our playgrounds. None of these growth policies will ever happen in Canada, since they are never something the current government talks about, since the only thing that will be talked about is confiscation, control, mandates, tracking apps, camps, taxes, and degrowth. When it comes to immigration, Poilievre doesn't seem about shutting the door. He might manage the intake to keep in step with Canada's pulse. We saw him defend immigration many times, proving he's for all Canadians and all of their ideas, not ideologically set on any given position if presented with new evidence. We think it would be wise to lower immigration to 50% of the historical level for 5 years, fix the supply of houses to the demand of people ratio, then bring the immigration level back up to historical percent levels average. Inventing a number like 500,000 or 1 million a year for immigration purposes on a napkin, while going bankrupt with an infrastructure deficit and a massive debt wave, is very unusual and perhaps even menacing. We feel sorry for the immigration minister that must do this, as their legacy will be tarnished. What's going on with this illogical government method of degrowth policies? It strikes a real red flag in the logic of all the rational thinking people, and yet, we are faced with red flag laws for firearms where people can circumvent the due process court process for confiscating other people's property and helping to set a precedent for confiscation of other types of property like housing or cars in the future. Why so many red flags, Canada? Governance should be about setting a pace for growth that's in harmony with our capabilities, a pace that allows for the housing market and infrastructure to grow steadily alongside our population. Pierre Poilievre seems to not have an ideological fixation and seems to be evidence-based, even defending the opposing side's non-measured immigration desire, in order to pursue some sort of evidence-based strategy that is continually measured and thoughtful, aiming to stabilize Canada during crises, not exacerbating housing and medical, banking debt and other issues with hasty, arbitrary immigration number inventions. Perhaps it would be helpful to halve the historical average on immigration temporarily, allowing our supply of housing and development of infrastructure and family formation to catch up. Once we're on solid ground, we can open our doors wider, welcoming newcomers at a rate that benefits all and at the rate that is in line with all of Canadian history. It's about preparing Canada to move forward confidently, not saddled with debt waves and bankruptcy risks. Remember, growth happens when debt to GDP is below 90%. So Pierre's policy of a sincere, authentic, and sound money practice and sound money banking will significantly help. This is the kind of perceptive leadership that recognizes growth as a holistic enhancement of Canadian life. Poilievre envisions a Canada that expands robustly and sustainably in an evidence-based manner. If he maintains this course, he won't just be solid as high-strength steel. He'll be the master craftsman of a Canada that's resilient, thriving, and built to endure.